Attention Northwest Arkansas businesses and talent seekers. Introducing OnboardNWA.com, your hyperlocal job board crafted for our unique community. Struggling to find the perfect match for your job openings? Onboard NWA simplifies the hiring process, connecting you with the region's top talent through tailored talent matching solutions. Whether you're an employer seeking expertise or a professional looking for your next opportunity, Onboard NWA is here for you. Discover more at onboardnwa.com, and let's build the future of Northwest Arkansas together.
It's time for another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas, the podcast covering the intersection of business, culture, entrepreneurship, and life in general here in the Ozarks. Whether you are considering a move to this area or trying to learn more about the place you call home, we've got something special for you. Without further ado, here's our fearless host, Randy Wilburn.
Hey folks, Randy Wilburn here from I Am Northwest Arkansas. I'm excited to be with you today. Yes, we're doing something a little different today with the podcast. This is a special day for a lot of reasons, and I want to just give a shout out to everyone that has made today possible. And yes, we are 2 years old today, and I wanted you to take a moment to celebrate with us as we look upon the calendar. And I cannot believe that 2 years ago we got this podcast started. We have survived a pandemic. We have survived multiple moves of our office space, and we're just excited to be where we are right now today. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that I appreciate each and every one of you that has supported what we're doing here at I Am Northwest Arkansas. And so I wanted to just take a minute today just to kind of say thank you. Being really simple as far as that's concerned. I had an episode scheduled for today, and I realized, oh my God, this is the 2-year anniversary. And I just want to give a shout out to all the peeps that have supported what we're doing here. And it's so funny because I just literally left a meeting with a woman named Karen Wagaman, and Karen is part of the Rogers Lowell Chamber of Commerce. And, she is the embodiment of what I have experienced since I've been here in Northwest Arkansas doing this particular podcast. Just a giving individual, someone that has kind of bent over backwards to help me expand the brand, if you will, and to tell other people about it, and to also introduce me to people whose stories should be memorialized in a podcast. And I actually think everybody's story should be memorialized in a podcast. So if you've got questions about that, hit your boy up later and we can talk about it. But in the meantime, we just talked about all of the amazing people that we've had on this show. And so, yes, it's been 2 years, 114 episodes of the podcast, including this one, and countless individuals. I have met with people in some of the wildest places, some of the weirdest places, some of the noisiest places, and still have been able to put out a pretty great, I would like to think, podcast program. And I have you guys to thank for that. Those of you that listen to this podcast on a regular basis, those of you that support what we're doing here at I Am Northwest Arkansas. So I appreciate it. I also appreciate you watching right now live on Facebook, because that's how this is coming out today. Again, this is a little different. I wanted to create this podcast to just give a quick testimonial for how much of a difference this has made in my life, and most importantly, how I've been given this platform to share and transform other people's stories and put them out there. And so I really appreciate you guys doing that. I wanted to just share just a couple of quick tidbits that I had my assistant look up. And I thought it was really interesting to kind of find out some of the statistics about this particular podcast and how long it's been out. I have done this will be 114 episodes. There are about 62 hours worth of podcasts, probably a little bit more than that. Actually, it is a little bit more than that. Each podcast has averaged about 35 minutes, and so we've done quite a bit, and I've had more than 117 guests on the show from all over Northwest Arkansas, which has been kind of cool. So I'm really excited to kind of share that little tidbit of information. But the thing that really stands out to me the most about this podcast and what I've been able to do is that Northwest Arkansas is a special place. I've told you this story before. I created this podcast because it was the podcast I would have wanted to listen to back in 2014 when I first relocated here. And I was trying to learn about this area, about what made Northwest Arkansas so great, what made it special. And is it just the fact that there are 3 Fortune 500 companies nestled in the hills of the Ozarks here, or is there something more? Is it the fact that the population is set to double by 2045, almost 1 million people in the next 25 years? I mean, there's a lot of information that is there for us to consider. You know, a lot of times when people say Bentonville, they say Walmart, but there's also Tyson, there's also J.B. Hunt, and let's not forget the University of Arkansas. So you've got this kind of hodgepodge or melting pot of all of these great companies and this fine institution of research and higher learning that really makes Northwest Arkansas special. And so I just, anybody listening to this, if you're not from here, if you're thinking about coming here, I want to just make my case for why you need to consider coming to Northwest Arkansas. And I'll be brief with it, but I just want to share with you why Northwest Arkansas is a special place. We've got a little bit of everything. We've got some of the best mountain biking in the world. We have some of the best road tracks and road trails in the world as well. So whether you like mountain biking or whether you like smooth cycling, you have that available to you, and you can do it without worrying about getting hit by a car. Yeah, I do ride on the street from time to time. I'm guilty of that, but I try to stay on the trail as much as possible because, well, we have a lot of trails. And we have a lot of gravel trails to do. And then, of course, we have a bunch of mountain bike trails. So, there's that whole piece of it. There's just the getting out in the outdoors, whether you're going to Devil's Den or Hobbs State Park or anywhere that you want to go is within a 15 to 20 to 25 minute ride in your car to be among nature and to be by yourself with your own thoughts. And that's one of the beautiful aspects of Northwest Arkansas is that there's so much pristine beauty around us. And so, I'm really, really excited about this place. A lot of times when you think about Northwest Arkansas, most people Google Bentonville, right? Because they're trying to figure out or learn a little bit more about Walmart. Maybe they're going to work in Bentonville for Walmart. But there's so much more to Northwest Arkansas to consider. And I like to say, as I've always articulated, when I explain to people what is Northwest Arkansas, well, Bentonville is the top slice of the sandwich and Fayetteville is the bottom slice of the sandwich. And then you've got nestled in between that, you've got the meat of Springdale and the lettuce and tomato of Rogers. And then all these other really great towns that make up the Northwest Arkansas corridor attached to that. So you've got Eureka Springs, which is like the spicy green mustard. And then you've got Siloam, and you've got so many different places around here that make up this area. And I don't want to forget, I'm going to give a shout out to Bella Vista because it's right there on the edge of the state line between southwestern Missouri and Arkansas. But Bella Vista is a great place. And it's actually, I didn't realize this, and some of you might be interested to know this, is one of the biggest destinations for retirees in the United States. And, if you ride through Bella Vista and you see all those beautiful, pristine golf courses, you could kind of figure it out. Well, we have a lot going on for us right here in Northwest Arkansas. And so if you live here already, I shouldn't have to remind you of how great this place is, but I will. If you're not here already, if you're considering coming here, I want to make a case for it. And I've got 2 years worth of data. I've got 2 years worth of stories. I've got 2 years worth of information to back up what I'm about to say, which is that we are one of the fastest growing parts of the United States, both on a census track, but also from a business track. We've got more new businesses cropping up here, in addition to the old line companies that have been around for years. And those companies have fueled a lot of new growth right here in Northwest Arkansas. And so when I look at having people on like Charu Thomas and Tanner Green from Ox, which used to be called Oculogics, Ox supports a lot of the work that Walmart is doing. They support a lot of the work that's being done from a shopping perspective. And there are so many companies out there that are tangentially related to the big three, right? And that's Walmart, J.B. Hunt, and Tyson. But then you've got a lot of other companies that have just said, you know what? This is such a quality place to live, a great environment where I can work out, where I can go get a good bite to eat, where there are James Beard nominated chefs, plentiful number of James Beard nominated chefs, some of which we've had on this podcast, that I can eat well, I can take care of myself, I can live a high quality life, maybe a little bit less stress than being in some big city where I spend, an hour or two each day in my car commuting to work. And granted, I know most people aren't doing that right now because of the pandemic, but some of us will get back to that at some point in time in the future. So there is a shout out for that, right? Is not being stuck in your car for half of the day going back and forth to work. But there's so many other aspects that make Northwest Arkansas really great. And for those of you that are thinking about coming here, I would say one of the biggest things are the people. The people here are outstanding. They are simply amazing. And I think about each and every individual that I've come in contact with. I mentioned Karen Wagaman, but there's so many others. I have friends, personal friends like Anthony Sumlin and his wife Chantel that have supported me throughout this endeavor. There's so many people like Michael Couture, who lives down in Fayetteville and is a member of the Ozark Natural Foods Co-op, one of the only organic co-ops in the state of Arkansas. And, I met him through the co-op, and just an outstanding gentleman, somebody that listens to this podcast on a regular basis. So, Mike, if you're listening, buddy, big shout out to you. I really appreciate you and your wife, Linda, and I thank you for your support. But it's people like Michael and people like Linda and people like Chantel and Anthony and Karen and so many others that have been the champions for this podcast. I really appreciate you. And that's what I would want to tell somebody if they were wondering, what makes Northwest Arkansas so special? Yeah, it's all the places. It's all the great restaurants that you can go to. It's the fact that there's some amazing businesses here. It's a great place to work. The unemployment rate is low. But we have our problems just like any other place, but we're dealing with them. And the thing that I like about Northwest Arkansas that really resonates with me is that we have, as a community, stuck together to try to deal with them. And it only takes a pandemic to realize that. And so I'm really, really proud of the place that I now call home. And I've been here for 6 years. And as an African American, I can tell you, there are a lot of places in this country that I may or may not move. I wouldn't consider moving to for a number of reasons. And honestly, I wasn't sure what I was going to get moving here to Northwest Arkansas, because I was like, man, there's not a lot of people that look like me. But there actually are a fair amount of folks that look like me. But more importantly, there are just a lot of good people here. And this is a very diverse environment and a place that's opening and welcoming to everyone, no matter what your belief is, no matter what your walk of life is, no matter what your historical experience has been. Northwest Arkansas is actually a pretty cool place to raise a kid. Yeah, again, there is no place that's perfect. Let me be very clear about that. But I think it's important for you to find a place that you call home and stick with it. And so home for me now is Northwest Arkansas, and I'm making the most of it. And I remember a lesson that my grandfather gave me many years ago, which he said, if you take the time to pour into a city, into a place where you live, it will give back to you in turn. And that couldn't be more true based on my experiences here in Northwest Arkansas. And so I'm really, really, really thankful for that. I'm thankful for all of the different encounters that I've had. And most of them, have been through this podcast and have opened up doors for me to meet so many great people. Another person I want to thank and shout out is actually a personal friend of mine. He's the reason why I moved to Northwest Arkansas. His name is Mark Zweig. Some of you may know him from the Zweig Group company that he used to be an owner of, was based there right by Rick's Bakery. Also had Mark Zweig Inc., which is an outstanding real estate design company, and he designed a bunch of houses in the area. And, you know, people would always say, oh, that's a Mark Zweig house, because they knew it. It was just a house of high quality. And if he built a house for you, or if he did a rehab for you, you knew that it was going to be excellent. And so Mark is somebody that I want to give a shout out to and a thank you, because honestly, if it wasn't for him and inviting my wife, Nicola, to come here and visit before I physically moved here, I would not be doing this podcast. You would not be hearing this podcast. And so, relationships are really important in my life, and I really want to encourage you to continue to go out there and develop relationships. And I apologize for the train sound in the background. That is not ambiance. That's just where my office is located now here in downtown Rogers. And sometimes I just can't get that train schedule right. So even though they said there was not going to be a train for the next hour, there's a train. So go figure. You got to love it, right? Anyway, I digress. I just wanted to kind of share a couple of thoughts with you guys and tell you how much I appreciate each and every one of you that has supported this podcast, that has listened to the podcast, that has shared it with other people. We've got a lot of great things coming up. I have a bunch of new episodes recorded that I think you guys are really going to like. And as we come out of the other side of this pandemic, let's just say you're going to see a whole lot more of me, not just hear me through voice, right, through the podcast. We're going to be doing a lot more videos. I've got a studio that I'm working in now, which is, you can kind of see the back of it. I've got some things that are going to be set up soon that I'm really excited about. But again, all of this is because of the support of each and every one of you guys. And so I really thank you, those of you that are listening, and shout out to Aaron Helmer, who is listening in, and Aaron was on the podcast previously with Bright Solutions, an outstanding early learning center right there in Springdale. And there's just a lot of, she's just one example of all of the great organizations, all of the great companies, the great nonprofits that are in this area. And I just wish I could go down the list and thank everyone from the bottom of my heart for supporting me on this endeavor. I honestly did not know what to expect. I just figured I would have a few conversations and call it a day, but it has taken on a life of its own. And I got to tell you, each and every conversation that I have, each and every relationship that I've built through this podcast has been fuel for me. And I've found out that it's actually been fuel for other people, because it's encouraged some people to start a business. It has encouraged some people to find out more about relocating and moving here to Northwest Arkansas. As a matter of fact, I've had several people that have reviewed the podcast that said the reason why they moved here is because of this podcast. So, I don't know what to say. I could not say it better than they did as far as the reason for why they came here and what makes Northwest Arkansas so special. It is the people. I think it's the people, which in turn create all of the different things that we experience here, the places that we get to go to, the businesses that we work with, the organizations that we are a part of. And it's only going to continue to get better, folks, as we grow. We're about 450,000, almost 500,000 people now, one of the fastest growing tracts of the country. It's only going to get better, and it will get better with people like you. I'm not the reason why it's getting better. You're the reason why it's getting better. So I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. And for those of you that aren't here yet, I want to encourage you that you need to get here. You need to come check it out. You know, my wife was a big city girl, and she still is a big city girl, and I love her to death. And she's still adjusting, but you can. There's an opportunity for everybody to adjust and to get used to what it's like here. There's a little bit slower pace in some instances, but that's okay, because, if nothing else, I've learned that I get to think more. I'm not constantly moving from one thing to the next. I get a chance to catch my breath and take in. There's nothing like seeing an Ozark sunshine. You see that sun creeping over the hills of the Ozark mountain range in the morning time, and then seeing that sunset to the west towards Oklahoma in the evening. And there's just nothing like it. And we have the best of all worlds. We have flatlands, we have mountains, ranges, we have rolling hills, a little bit of everything. And so if you're thinking about coming here, I want to commit to you that you will not be disappointed. Trust me when I say this, there's a little bit of something for everyone in Northwest Arkansas. And if nothing else, listen to a couple of these back episodes of the podcast, learn about the people that call this place home, learn about the organization and places that call this place home, and just check it out for yourself. And then hit your boy up and let me know what you think. That's fair enough, right? Okay. So that's all I have for you today. I just wanted to share, why it was important for me to do this podcast in the first place. And it has been a game changer, and it's been the best 2 years of my life. At the age of 51 years of age, I found my groove and the thing that really keeps me going. And I've been doing podcasting for a while now, more than a decade. But this podcast, the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast, has allowed me to rise to a whole nother level. And it's because of you guys, because of the listeners, because of everybody that has supported what I'm doing with this podcast and with this movement that I'm trying to encourage or continue encouraging, along with so many other organizations out there like the Northwest Arkansas Council, all of the chambers of commerce here, places like Visit Bentonville and Experience Fayetteville and Downtown Springdale and Rogers Lowell Chamber of Commerce. And everybody is doing their part to let people know how great Northwest Arkansas is. And I believe through storytelling, we will continue to do that here with I Am Northwest Arkansas. So I really appreciate you guys listening. I can't thank you enough. And I just want to give a shout out, especially to an individual named Gary Head, who was on episode number 4 of the podcast, I believe. And Gary Head founded a community bank called Signature Bank of Arkansas. And Signature Bank, I got to tell you folks, I've always been big on banking relationships. I've always known who my bankers are. Gary is no exception. But these guys believed in us and supported us and are one of the first true supporters of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. And they put their money where their mouth is. And so I really want to encourage you, if you have never had a real relationship with a banker, you need to go down and visit Signature Bank, either in Fayetteville or in Rogers or in Bentonville. Wherever they have an office or branch, I would encourage you to go and visit them, check them out. They are a member of the FDIC, and they're also a equal opportunity housing lender. So, they are a great place to go if you need a mortgage, if you just need a new bank account, if you're tired of banking with a bank that doesn't really have anything beyond just a normal location here. I would certainly encourage you to check out Signature Bank. And that's the long and short of it. We're going to have regular commercials from Signature Bank on a regular basis each month, as they are a sponsor of this podcast. And I can't think of having a better relationship than with a local bank, and especially with a local community bank like Signature Bank. They helped me out with my PPP loan, and they've helped me out with a number of loans that I've done with them. And so I always like to tell people and encourage people to use things that I use. I don't tell you to go use something that I don't use. And so Signature Bank is my bank. I personally bank there. I professionally bank there with my businesses. And if you are looking for a good bank, you could do a lot worse than Signature Bank. So I really want to encourage you to check out Gary Head and his team there. And I just wanted to give them an extended shout out on this very special episode of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. That is all that I have for you guys this week. I really appreciate you. Yes, that's from me to everybody here in Northwest Arkansas. You guys rock. And I will see you right back here next week with a brand new episode of the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast. I appreciate and love each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. One love. Peace.
hope you enjoyed this episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. Check us out each and every week, available anywhere that great podcasts can be found. For show notes or more information on becoming a guest, visit IamNorthwestArkansas.com. We'll see you next week on I Am Northwest Arkansas.